In this week's episode, we're going to be discussing some tips and techniques of timber stand improvement.
Mossy Oak Properties, where outdoorsmen find their favorite place.
Throughout this video series, we've done a number of different videos on timber stand improvement, using a chainsaw and how a chainsaw is a great management tool to improve the quality of wildlife habitat on your property. And in those videos, we've talked about how a chainsaw can help you accomplish those goals and benefits within timber stand improvement. But in this video, we're going to show you how to use a chainsaw to accomplish those benefits.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that know how to do this stuff, but for many people, they don't.
Right.
Chainsaws can be very intimidating.
Yeah.
They can, even running a machete and a hatchet, there can be some damage, if you will, to yourself and others if not done correctly. How to put the herbicide in there. Just little silly things. How to cut a tree down. And everybody's got an opinion on that. Yeah. But we'll discuss those types of cuts and the do's and don'ts, if you will.
Exactly. I mean, we're guilty of it because in these videos we've said, use a chainsaw, cut the trees, open the canopy, sunlight hit the forest floor.
You know how to do that.
Oh yeah, exactly. But we take for granted that not everybody knows how to do it. And from making a flush cut, cutting a tree completely down, hinge cutting, girdle and spray, hack and squirt. We're going to show you how to use each of those techniques, when, where, and how to use them so you can do them confidently and in the process, which is what we're trying to convey and communicate, improve the quality of habitat wildlife on your property.
Now again, when we talk about timber stand improvement, the reason why that we're doing it, especially here today, is to release some oak. And there's an oak tree right behind me. This tree, this poplar that we're going to cut, it is taking energy, which is food, away from the oak. So what we're going to do is we decided to do basically just to cut it completely down, just a face cut. And again, when you start cutting, always take the time. We see it time and time again. Make sure the area around the tree that you're going to cut completely off is free of debris, at least to the point to where if things go awry, you can leave the saw and quickly escape without tripping over yourself. It's bad enough we trip over our feet. But when it comes to cutting trees completely down, there's so many methods, and I highly encourage, if you're not really great with a saw or you feel comfortable with a saw, I have attended these classes, Division of Forestry, or there's other organizations out there that have chainsaw courses. I've taken level 1, level 2. What's that mean to my master logger? By no means, but I know little tricks that makes me feel a little bit more confident. And when the tree's leaning a certain way, how to use wedges and all that stuff, and you're around the same people that are on your level, so there's not like I feel inferior here with other people in the classroom. Very good courses, so I highly encourage. But everybody, like we were talking about turkey hunting, everybody has a different way of cutting trees, and you don't have to do these major wedges, like that. This is what I normally do. Somebody else might have a different method, but we're going to go do a back cut on this. And we have this tree, we picked it. It has a nice window to fell without getting hung up. That was a key thing. What direction does it want to fall? And then we're just going to go up just an inch or two above this wedge and do our back cut, and hopefully everything goes great, and I can show you. All right, so we're going to finish this cut real quick. So I get paid big bucks, ladies and gentlemen. So no, exactly what we wanted it to happen. We made sure that our wedge is going in a direction that we want the tree to fell in. Now what we can do, there's mineral stumps. We can let this tree go ahead and produce, I'm so out of shape. We can produce all this great browse from all this energy, or we can decide to herbicide it, you know, herbicide it to kill the stump. But I love this being a softwood, you know, we would let the mineral stumps, you know, be created. So that is a face cut. Sunlight hit the forest floor, and that oak tree is going to get so much energy, so much food because of that sunlight and less competition. When doing timber stand improvement, one thing you want to do is always diversify everything that you're doing, whether it's your cutting, your chainsawing, and etc. So I know when it comes to chainsawing, we try to do different types of cuts, and we just did a flush cut the tree completely off. And one thing that's really popular that a lot of people do is hinge cutting. Now there's so many reasons why you hinge cut. A lot of people like to hinge cut for, you know, hunting purposes, directing deer, creating, you know, little sanctuary areas, tunnels, if you will. And then there's hinge cutting for wildlife value, and that's what we're going to demonstrate. So the key of hinge cutting is you're just cutting into the tree just a little bit, and you kind of maybe manually push it over, and there's even habitat tools out there that you can purchase to help you pull these trees down safely. And the thought process behind it, and it doesn't happen all the time, so just because you hinge cut a tree doesn't mean it's always going to work. So just know that. It's not that you failed, it's just the tree didn't react the way you wanted it to. So when you cut the tree just like maybe half of it or just a little bit more than half, the tree is still alive because it's still getting energy into the trunk. Now, a lot of times the food for white-tailed deer is up in the canopy. So when that tree is laying down, it's getting all that buds, all that soft mass of tree. And then the energy from the stump is still pulling up stuff, you know, feeding the tree. So you'll get some stump sprouting, if you will. So you'll get a couple of years of that. So that the deer will be utilizing in wildlife value, sunlight hitting the forest floor. There's a bunch of things benefit to doing a lot of cutting. But one thing, like I said, sometimes hinge cutting, don't think that it failed. You did something wrong. Sometimes the tree does not act the way you want it to. So we'll just do that real quick. Cut that part out. Now, different species of trees going to react differently, and this is a poplar tree, so it kind of tends to split a little bit. You know, maple, other softwoods, you know, they do exactly what you want them to do, but this poplar, and it's funny, if you ask, you know, people how to do a hinge cut, one thing you never want to do is put that chainsaw above your head. 8, 9, 10, let me start over, 8, 9, 10 out of 10, what I'm trying to say, you'll be all right, but it's never do that above your head. And at the beginning of the day, they're all kind of lower. At the end of the day, they're kind of a little higher because you're tired, like I am right now. So, but basically, hinge cutting, sunlight hitting the forest floor, tree's still going to produce some energy, stump sprouting, food at the end of the canopy for wildlife. Again, diversity wins when you do cutting and everything wildlife management. Can't emphasize that enough. We've done flush cuts, we've done hinge cutting, and now there's trees that, you know, we double girdle. So that way the tree is still standing. It's going to have, you know, it's still going to die, but it's still the value of the tree. It's far from over because wildlife will utilize this tree until it completely falls down on its own. The tree will die, creating bugs for, you know, songbirds, owls. We use the cavities that woodpeckers use, screech owls. I mean, it goes on and on and on. The activity of this tree, though standing and dead, is still going to create life instead of just completely felling it. So diversify your cuts. Now, one type of cut that we talked about, one type of cut that we like to do is double girdle. But there's things real quick about double girdling. You got to get the blade into that tree. Okay, so you got to get it in there so you can enter that cambium layer. That's what you want to break up. That's what feeds the tree. So, but when you do the girdle, you got to make sure that everything lines up. Okay, so that way, if you see, go all the way around, you want to start or end up where you started from. It can't be offset like this right here. Come over here, Cody. See how this doesn't match? And we see that a lot. This tree, you did not break up that flow, okay? And when you're cutting, always make sure when you girdle, don't go on to the next one. Use your herbicide, your cocktail, make sure you contact your forester for the right mix, if you will, and get in there and just spray all the way around. Get it in there. Use a spray bottle, that way it gets a nice flow. It's clean, it's not messy, and it does what it's supposed to do.
All right, our last demonstration, we're going to use these two tools, a little squirt bottle of herbicide and a hatchet. And believe it or not, with these two tools, as small and insignificant as they may seem, we can create some phenomenal wildlife habitat just with these two tools using a method called hack and squirt. And hack and squirt is exactly what it sounds like. You're making a hack into the tree. You're giving just a little bit of herbicide, just a couple of squirts. It takes very little. You're spraying right into the wound. And it's a similar process to the double girdle method that Erich just did. But usually I will double girdle and treat the bigger trees with herbicide that I don't want to cut. It's going to fall in the wrong direction, whatever the case may be. Trees about this size, maybe a little bit bigger and smaller, this is all you need. It's a heck of a lot more efficient to just make a couple hacks into this tree and kill it standing that way. But it's a simple process. With these two tools, all you do is you're going to make one hack right into the tree, a couple squirts of herbicide, doesn't take much. If it's running out, that's actually too much. That just goes to show how little it needs to kill the tree. And a good rule of thumb is to make one hack for every 3 inches of diameter in the tree. You are trying to kill the tree, so go a little bit more if you're unsure. You don't need to go crazy. Don't be too liberal with it. Don't waste your time in herbicide. But again, we are trying to kill the tree. On a tree of this size, I'll make one hack here. I'll make another hack right here. Just a hack. They don't have to be perfect or lined up, just a couple of squirts. And then I will make another hack over here. Just a small hack. They don't have to be big, and that's all it takes. Just a little squirt. And this tree is dead and doesn't know it yet. And as I mentioned, the same process, the same benefits as a double girdle and spray that Erich just did. This tree is going to die standing, but even though it's dead, it's still creating life for songbirds, insects, and the like. And for trees of this size, with these two tools, you can cover a lot of ground and create a lot of habitat. But just like, it doesn't seem like these two tools are dangerous, but PPE, as we've mentioned, you're never too cool for it. Wear gloves in case the herbicide runs out of the squirt bottle. Obviously, wear eye protection in case it sprays back into your eyes. And yeah, with these two tools, some boots on the ground, killing these trees, we got some good wildlife habitat coming down the pipe.
The last thing that Cody and I wanted to talk about is that you are going to come upon trees that you know that needs cut down, that the canopy is so big, it's taking so much room, it's a non-desirable tree. And there's trees like this that, for the beginner, should you be cutting stuff like this? Well, if the tree's straight and you have, somebody maybe supervising you and talking to you, making sure the movement up on top, coaching, whatever you have. But there's trees like this where it's like, you know what, it's best just to go home today, alive. If you're not comfortable cutting a large tree, because they can be intimidating, a lot of things can go wrong. This tree could be hollow inside. We don't know what's inside, unless you are experienced and stuff. So trees like this that there's so many methods, or several that we talked about. And one major one is the double girdle. Just double girdle this tree. and amount of life, again, that this tree is going to produce, standing but dead, is going to be phenomenal. So go home safely. There's trees like this that intimidate you. It's leaning one way that you don't know what direction it's going to fall on. It's going to be more pain in the butt than it's worth. Walk away, safe, double girdle, go home. Well, after the use of any type of tool like a machete, hatchet, chainsaw, we got all our limbs, everything safe.
That's the win.
That's the win, and wildlife is second.
That's right.
No, safety always first.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, from wearing glasses to to when you're using herbicide gloves, the whole 9 yards. Take that extra mile, and as you can tell, there's a lot of ways, and everyone has their own. It's like, how do you kill a turkey?
Right.
Ask somebody. And you're going to hear different views on how to kill a turkey, and the other guys, this is wrong. So that's wildlife management. That's how running a chainsaw can be, and how to do specific cuts can be.
Yeah, there are certainly some wrong ways to go about it, but there are a lot of different right ways too. And no one right way is necessarily better than the other. A lot of it is what you're comfortable with, your experience, the type of trees that you're cutting, what you're trying to accomplish with the chainsaw. Sometimes a hinge cut makes sense versus flush cutting. Sometimes cutting a tree completely down is better than a hinge cutting. So there are a lot of right ways to go about it, and hopefully in this video we communicated and conveyed that to you just to build your confidence level, because I remember when I first started running a chainsaw, I was well aware of all the benefits. I wanted to cut every stick of tree all down. I wanted all that sunlight because I knew the response I was going to get, but I was a little intimidated to how to go about doing it. And as I've run a saw every year, get more and more experience, more confident. I'm cutting bigger trees, and I never want to say I'm good at it, but I'm more comfortable because I do it often. And hopefully what we've shared with you increases your comfortability and confidence level.
Yeah, there's several things to wrap this up that you can count on when running a chainsaw. And there's other things that we did, but running a chainsaw. If you think you should, bring an extra wedge, bring it.
Right. Yeah.
Plan on getting trees hung up. Plan on the worst type of thing, but always remember safety first when it comes to all this stuff. It's so important to go home not hurt.
That's right. You're never too cool for PPE. So check those boxes first, and once you get out there with the saw, you can accomplish so much with the chainsaw, as we've talked about not only in this video but in previous videos. So hopefully this video has increased your confidence level, so now you can go out, grab that herbicide, grab that hatchet, your chainsaw, your PPE, and get to work.
Mossy Oak Properties, where outdoorsmen find their favorite place.